like to think I bring some order to the proceedings. Jay keeps everyone laughing. I mean, his main job is to fill in the sonic gaps in the sort of there's a three-piece core sound, and Jay kind of covers it in sort of magic dust and you know sort of technicolor filling, and he just makes it sound bigger. Um, a lot of the band's dynamic is the friction and the tension between me and Paul, the guitar and the drums, and we've always that's a kind of a brother dynamic. I can't work out who's the older brother, but between the two of us, there's that tension and that irritation as well that we have with each other, and that push and pull that you get between those two instruments. Drums, they'll either be pushing or they'll be dragging, and you get a lot of that with guitar as well. So, and Alonso is the bass player, and he kind of leans into it and is just freeloading his way through the sessions. But we all bring a chemistry that's clearly works because we still enjoy hearing each other play after you know 30 plus years. I think songs, they just come. You get a some kind of inspiration. It's almost like a pang of hunger, where you just need to get something. You need to get it finished. You need to get it out your system, and no, it's always different for me. I might get an idea from hearing something or something somebody said. Occasionally, I wake up. Occasionally, not very often, you wake up with a tune, and you find yourself mumbling into your phone. At 3 in the morning. And that's something that you can't decipher the next day. Just sounds like somebody who smoked too much. So it's always different. Occasionally, the band will come up with something on stage, and you think, "Oh, we must go back and turn that into something." I think with any kind of inspiration, it's like falling in love. It just comes to you, and you can't. You just have to follow it. It's like when you're cooking and an idea comes to you, and you think, "Oh, I'll try a bit of this." That spontaneity is where the magic is in life, you know, period. Whatever you're doing, it's that if you're in the moment and you're letting it happen, and you're curious, and your intelligence is sort of like shaping it and guiding it rather than controlling it, that's the place to be. With Natural Magic, we wanted to get back to writing the short, punchy pop songs, but make sure that it still felt like a band, and that it still had all the color of a psychedelic record. Whereas this one with Wormslayer, we've kind of held on to that, but opened up and returned to some of our more prog tendencies, the operatic. So with tracks like Wormslayer, 7.5, 8 minutes long, and Charge of the Light Brigade is a 3 minute pop song. So I think we've kind of got the balance between the two. The main thing we wanted to hang on to was that the energy, the live energy that we had with when Jay had come back to the band, and it really felt like we were on fire. It started with a killer guitar riff and in D. So, Alonso dropped his E string down to D, and I dropped my E string down to D, and it's heavier and uh, and I just needed a title to go with that riff. And then once I knew it was called Wormslayer, I was off to the races in terms of a concept. You know, sometimes you need a riff, sometimes you need a lyric, or sometimes it's just a melody, but you need something that gets the ball rolling with a song, with a track. And with this one, it was the riff. And once I knew it was called Wormslayer, I felt like it had an identity and a lyrical theme that started to dictate the music. And it's all about evil, really, how evil exposes itself, how evil undoes itself ultimately. And though we might think that, you know, all is lost and it's hopeless, when faced with indescribable evil, uh, then actually, you know, the evil will destroy itself, and that's something to hang on to. And the worm turning is that moment that evil becomes so arrogant that it reveals itself and it ultimately undoes itself. My grandmother was a writer, and she wrote a beautiful film called Whistle Down the Wind, and about kids that find this guy in a barn. They think he's Jesus. They think he's Jesus come back, but he's actually a convict on the run for murder. And it's a wonderful mixture of childhood innocence and sort of quite sort of gritty reality, kind of smashing together. All her stories tended to have those two worlds colliding. And The Winged Boy was one of the last things she ever wrote. She she battled with alcoholism and depression, and she was always, I think, obviously, like most of these problems, they stem from childhood trauma, which I never quite got to the bottom of. But it was essentially to do with um, the childhood wonder, the magic of that pure state, being a kid, and how it struggles to survive in the world. And it spoke to me deeply over the years, and I was always trying to find a way to express it. I had written a script. I was working with Stephen Fry on it, actually, and it got stuck in development hell in Hollywood. And it was a kind of classic example of art. Sorry, it was a classic example of life imitating art. You know, this the wing boy had become trapped in some dungeon in Hollywood, with all these awful people, you know, who just were exploiting it and ruining it. And I lost control of it. And so to when I wrote the music, it's kind of like claiming it back and finding a different way to tell that story. And it runs throughout the album. There's Good Money, and there's a song called Shawnee about the boy, and then there's kind of instrumental flying sequence, which, you know, not enough albums have instrumental flying sequences these days. It's an interesting exercise. If you feel like you've finished your album, you should try writing a couple more songs. See if you can beat your best or bring something unexpected to the party. And Lucky Number was the last one, and Dust Beneath Our Feet. They were the last two things we recorded. Lucky Number ended up opening the record, and Dust ended up being the kind of like the epilogue, because we thought Wormslayer, which is so epic and so long, we thought that would be the natural way to end it. But it kind of needs a kind of a postscript. It needs some kind of kind of wrapping it up and putting it in the context of storytelling. And it was basically a lyric by Yeats, you know, and it was just one of those quotes. I can't remember where it's from. It might be from a book that he had compiled about folk stories, fairy stories from Ireland, about, you know, let us go forth, ye tellers of tales, and seize whatever prey the heart longs for. You know, everything is real, everything is true, and the world is just a little dust beneath our feet. It was a wonderful bit of classic Yeats there, and I just kind of basically, you know, used a lot of it and incorporated it into the lyrics. We're all romantics at heart. If you peel away all the layers of Kula, you basically find a bunch of old romantics. It's not an easy time for music or film due to the internet and the algorithms. And I think it should be a grave warning to all people trying to live their life that they are ultimately going to experience the same thing, because life experience is being reduced to data with a price tag on it. And, you know, it really is like the Matrix. You are just, the system is being mechanized to the point where you are just a little battery of data to be sold and exchanged and monitored and surveilled. And it does reduce your value to nothing, because you represent nothing to them in this new world. And that's not supposed to be a depressing overview. It's supposed to sort of spur you into action, to appreciate the freedoms that you have and the things that you really value in this life, and to hold on to them. So, in our situation as musicians, where all musicians are part-time and all musicians are struggling to make a living out of it, you have to double down onto what is really important to you, and where your value is as a in terms of your audience and what you do. And one of the things for us is we can make albums, and we must really fully commit to making albums rather than tracks. And the other thing is our live shows, and making sure that we absolutely commit to making those really special. I mean, we've always been a live band, so you know, we can't stop playing live, even if it's very expensive to do so. We have to kind of double down on our commitment to live work and those shows, and the same thing with records. And you know, gamble everything on people's genuine love of music and sticking with it.